Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Councillor Philip Davis. I'll be chairing the hearing of Subcommittee A of the Licensing and Public Protection Committee of Birmingham City Council this morning. Before we start, if everybody could mute your microphones for the moment in order to improve the sound quality while I talk about procedure. If you could also turn off your cameras, with the exception of committee members, this will help us with the bandwidth. Committee members will normally have their cameras switched on throughout the hearing. And again, if everybody follow the usual procedure, I think we're all familiar with this now. Please turn mobiles on to silent and ensure that you're in a room which is free from distractions. It's important for whatever obvious reasons that those attending the meeting and making representations are able to hear me and members of my subcommittee and officers. Any distractions brought to my attention could result in the meeting being suspended temporarily or to another date and time under the regulations for these types of meetings. I can also confirm that this is a public meeting and is therefore being live streamed on the City Council's website so that the general public can view it. The formal agenda is as follows. Item 1, notice of recording webcast. I advise the meeting to note that this meeting will be webcast for live or subsequent broadcast via the Council's meeting YouTube site. 2, declarations of interest. Members are reminded they must declare all relevant pecuniary and other registrable interests arising from any business to be discussed at this meeting. Item 3, apologies, notification of nominee members. No, there are no substitutions today. So can I welcome you to this hearing for an application in respect of NISA 31 Shirley Road, Acox Green, Birmingham, B27 7XU. My name is Councillor Philip Davis. I'm chairing the meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee today. With me are the 2 other members of the subcommittee, Councillors Mary Locke and Councillor Simon Moran. Also present in the meeting are the following officers: the licensing officer, Mr. Pinder Nandra, the committee manager, Ms. Katie Townsend, and the committee lawyer, Ms. Joanne Swampilar. So now I'll move to the applicant, Mr. Gunnar Seelan, and he's represented by Mr. Patrick Burke. Mr. Burke?
Yes, Councillor, thank you.
Okay.
I've got the applicant with me today. His short name is Gunnar.
Gunnar. So to refer to him as Gunnar then. Okay, Mr. Gunnar. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Now, we don't have any, we have written representations from people objecting, but we don't have anybody attending from objectors today. Okay, so I don't need to deal with the next bit. So on to procedure. I assume all parties have read and understood the licensing committee procedural rules sent out with a notice of today's hearing. Given the nature of today's proceedings, I may at my discretion amend the procedural rules to reflect the fact that this meeting is taking place online, but I want to assure everyone that any amendments will not impact on the party's right to a fair hearing. We use the chat function as a backup in these meetings. I think everybody's familiar with that system now. There's a speech bubble, you go to that and you can type in a message. We record, we use it to help record attendance as well. So if we could all go to chat and just put in our names, that would be very helpful. I'm doing that now. So if we go to chat and just put in our names, that will, as I say, assist the record. No. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Just going back to the main. Yeah, there we are. Okay, thank you for that. And we keep that chat column open for the duration of the meeting. With the exception of subcommittee members, please keep your camera on. Please keep your camera off unless you're the person speaking. If there are problems with bandwidth which cause difficulties with the sound, we may ask everyone to turn their cameras off in order that the meeting can proceed. Now, Mr. Burke, do you want to make any preliminary points about procedure at this stage?
No, thank you.
Okay. Again, back to process. Firstly, I'll be asking the licensing officer, Mr. Nandra, to present his report. Then I'll ask Mr. Burke on behalf of the applicant to present their case. And again, we allow around 20 minutes for this. And obviously, clarity in speech is very helpful to the officers in terms of keeping a record of this meeting. And if you could mute your microphone when somebody else is speaking, that will assist the process. Members of the subcommittee will be able to ask questions at any stage, but will try to do so at the conclusion of each presentation. Cross-examination by the applicant and those making representations will not be permitted unless the members consider it appropriate. You can intervene in the normal way, get my attention verbally, or use the chat function. And if there's any problem with communication, please use the chat function. But it's likely we'll be aware of it, and we'll take steps to make sure that communication is maintained. It may be that at some point the committee will need to withdraw to take legal advice. If that happens, then the live stream will be switched off and only restarted when we return to the meeting. If at any time the live stream being broadcast on the City Council website fails, I'll ask you all to mute your microphones and cameras and to stop speaking until the live stream is restored. And again, if we go into private sessions at any stage, we will close down the live stream and then start it up when we return. At the conclusion of the hearing, I'll invite all parties to make a brief closing submission. No decision will be taken until all the evidence has been heard. At the decision-making stage, the members and the relevant officers will withdraw from the meeting in order to determine the decision. They'll go into a separate Microsoft Teams meeting. If we need to clarify any point, the parties will be contacted by telephone by the meeting manager. The members will then make their decision, and you'll be notified of the decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. Okay, so that's the procedure. So what I'd like to do is now go on to the reports, and with that, I'll ask the licensing officer, Mr. Bhinder Nandra, to present his report. Mr. Nandra.
Thank you, Chair. The applicant applied on the 2nd of December 2022 for the grant of a premises licence for NISA 31 Shirley Road, Acox Green, Birmingham, B27 7XU. The purpose of the report is to consider representations that have been made in respect of an application for a premises licence which seeks to permit the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises to operate 24 hours Monday to Sunday, with the premises to remain open to the public 24 hours Monday to Sunday. Representations have been received from other persons, which are attached at Appendices 1 to 3. The application is attached at Appendix 4. Conditions have been agreed with West Midlands Police and the applicant, which are attached at Appendix 5, and the site location plans are attached at Appendix 6. When carrying out its licensing functions, a licensing authority must have regard to Birmingham City Council's Statement of Licensing Policy and the guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. The licensing authority is also required to take such steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. The options available to the subcommittee today are to grant the licence in accordance with the application, to reject the application, to grant the licence subject to conditions modified to such an extent as considered appropriate, exclude from the licence any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, or to refuse to specify a person in the licence as the premises supervisor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Nandra. So now I move on to Mr. Burke for the applicant. Mr. Burke, would you like to make your presentation?
Thank you, Chair. Just give you a little bit of background into the application and the applicant. This was previously a fast food takeaway. My client intends to open as a general store and off licence. Just for the benefit of the objectors, I know there's none of them here today, but just for the benefit of the objectors, when an application is submitted, a copy of the application goes to the police, trading standards, the fire service, the AHO, a body that's concerned with the welfare of children, planning, the Home Office and the Health Service. The police contact the local community support police officers and ask for feedback. No concerns were raised. We agreed the following condition with the police, and this was the only condition that these were the only conditions that they asked for. The premises licence holder shall ensure that between the hours of 2200 hours and 07, all items, including alcohol, shall be served through a service hatch. At all other times, the premises will be managed by a minimum of 2 members of staff. If for any reason the CCTV hard drive needs to be replaced, the previous old hard drive will be kept on site for a minimum of 31 days and made available and made immediately available to any of the responsible authorities on request. The CCTV will be checked to ensure that it's working each week. The time of the check and identity of the person carrying out this check and the result of it will be recorded in an incident book. These conditions match the conditions at 21 to 23 Shirley Road, which was the comparison that the police made. There's no other objections from the police or any other. There's no objections from the police now or any of the responsible authorities. The objectors. The first objection states that there is another 24-hour licence business next door, which is not relevant to this application. And actually, the premise is at 21 to 23 Shirley Road. And it's actually a premises that my client got licensed over 10 years ago and ran himself for a couple of years. So he does know the area. States that during the past 5 to 7 years living in the area, that there's been an increase in violent incidents and antisocial behaviour, broken glass, shattered bus stops and fights every week. There are no objections from the police, so there's nothing really to back that up. Representation 2 states it refers to the shop 2 doors away and the fact that they only sell alcohol via a hatch at night, which is a condition that we've agreed with the police anyway. The representation at 3 again refers to other shops in the area opening 24 hours and states he's spoken to other residents who have concerns. There are 3 objections from local residents. There are thousands of people living within this area. There's no petitions. There's just 3 objections from local residents. And with regards to that, I'd refer to the case of Thwaites v Wirral. The case in the High Court, the case of Thwaites v Wirral, the case in the High Court on the 6th of May 2008 has emphasised the principles laid down by the Licensing Act 2003 and its accompanying guidance, section 182, that there should be a light touch bureaucracy applied to applications for premises licences and that restrictions should only be attached to premises licence if they are necessary to promote the licensing objectives. It also highlights that the fact that decisions on applications should be made on evidence and not based on speculation. And it's our application that the letters of representation submitted to Birmingham City Council Licensing Authority, as in the case of Thwaites v Wirral, are speculative in content. And if the authority gave weight to these speculative opinions, it would in fact fail to follow section 182 and its own accompanying guidance. I think ordinarily I would sum up at the end, but as there's no objectors here, I think I'll just really try and I might as well say what I would normally say at the end. This is a busy area. It's a main road. It's Acocks Green Town Centre. There are no objections from any of the responsible authorities. My client has experience of running premises within Birmingham for over 20 years. He has a number of other premises within Birmingham that are licensed 24 hours. So he's got loads and loads of experience. This is a closed business. It's been closed for over 6 months. And he intends to obviously spend money on this and get it open and running and have it as a running business. And I think that sometimes people need to be a bit careful of what they wish for. Many years ago, I was pub company area manager, and the first hearing that I went to in 2005 was for a pub in Newcastle-under-Lyme. And the pub wanted to extend their hours to 1 o'clock on a Friday and Saturday night, and be able to do a bit of music at the weekends. And there was local residents objecting to the application, stating that, well, if this guy's allowed to open 1 o'clock, he'll probably stay open and all the rest of it. The application was actually refused. This was, say, the very first hearing that I went to. The application was refused. And about 2 years ago, I'd actually left the company, and they'd sold this pub on, and it changed hands about 3 or 4 times. Within 2 years, it changed. Nobody could ever make any money on it, because all they could do in this pub was sell beer. They couldn't do anything else. And I had somebody from the local council ring me to try and find out who the owners of this business were, because the neighbours were complaining that that kids had broken into the pub because it was closed down and boarded up, been broken into, and was being used as a drugs den at weekends. These were the same people that had objected to a bit of music at weekends and things like that. So I think that sometimes people have to be a bit careful what they wish for. And I think this is a very, very brave thing to do in today's climate, when gas and electric bills are soaring, prices of everything are going sky high week in, week out. I think this is a very, very brave thing to do, to try and get this business back up and out and running in whatever capacity. And I think my client should be commended for that. And I think that's all I'll say. If you've got any questions, we'd be happy to
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burke. Okay, thank you for that. And I'll go to Councillor Morrell. Councillor Morrell, any questions?
No questions, Chair.
Councillor Locke?
Just a couple. When will the deliveries and waste be collected, please? That's all I wanted to know.
Deliveries and waste. Yeah. When will the waste be collected?
Yeah, we are not booking yet.
Sorry?
The vessel.
Do you know?
Bupa.
Right. What do you know when they'll be collected?
That one Monday and Friday.
What kind of times? Mondays and Fridays for waste. Yeah. Currently, he hasn't got access to the shop, so he can't actually book that until he takes over the business.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit difficult if he can't really specify exactly what times the waste is going to be collected. But this is a busy commercial street, so it will be in line with the other collections that are going on at the same time in the same street.
Okay, nothing else.
Okay. So, Mr. Burke, this street, as you've just said, is a commercial street. Do you know where the nearest residents are?
Where is the nearest resident?
Resident is the opposite side. The Shirley Road always.
Right. There are residents on the.
Sorry.
It's on.
Sorry, this is the city centre.
This is in basically in the town centre of
Town
Acox
centre.
Green. I actually went to the school I went to Archbishop Ilsley's secondary school, and it really is a busy commercial area. There are a few residents on the opposite side of the road, but they're kind of off from where this. When I say the opposite side of the road, there's a big roundabout, isn't there? It's like
3 parallel shops.
there's a big roundabout there, so that even though they're on the opposite side of the road, there's some distance away from this premises.
Okay, yes, I can see on the map. The library is opposite the premises, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's just to give me a general idea of the makeup of the street. And then there are presumably number 41. Is that residential? I'm just looking at the map in the papers. Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, it's all right. I've got a picture of the street, I think, from this map and so on. Okay. You mentioned the other business, 2123, and you say your client was running that. So that is now independent, though. That's run by somebody else.
Yeah. He got that licensed in 2010, and has got nothing to do with that business anymore.
Right.
While he's in the 20 plus years that he's been running premises, he's never had any issues.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. I think that's our questions. Okay, so we would now be moving on to objectors who attended, but we have no objectors attending. And Mr. Burt, you've kindly waived your summing up. Is that right? You're happy to?
Yeah. I think I've said that. I can only reiterate the experience that my client's got, and that he's never had any issues previously.
Okay, thank you for your help anyway today, and to your client. So we are now at the point of decision. So I'll now ask everyone to leave the MS Teams meeting, and the members of the committee lawyer and the committee manager will go into private session while the subcommittee makes its decision. And you'll be notified of the decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to your client, and you'll receive a decision in due course. Colleagues, if we go straight in.